Hello and happy Sunday, or whenever it is that you are listening to this. We're not on video today. A lot of different factors. Plus, I'm feeling under the weather, but here we are. We are back with another episode of Unique Moments, where we take a moment to breathe, take a moment to pause, reconnecting our mind, body, and spirit. And on today, we are discussing intuition. And I touched on this before. I feel like I probably say something about intuition in most of the videos. So I don't think this is going to be a long one. I think I'm just going to give some examples of when my intuition has served me and just how to listen to your intuition, how to follow that internal guidance system, how to know when it's that or when you're self-sabotaging or when it's someone else's voice in your head. Sometimes what you think is your intuition is not your intuition. But before we get into the episode, the card we pulled for today, which I think is very fitting, is duality. And on the card, it's like a tree, and then there's two birds. There's a black bird and a white bird representing the yin and the yang. Yin and the yang. One of my pet peeves, and I don't think it's ever going to change, but when people say yin and yang, it's yin. Y-I-N. This is not the yin yang twins. Yin and yang energies. Anyways, black and white, masculine and feminine, active, receiving, flow, and charge. Yeah, I'm going to read the card. So how about I flip directly to the page? That's insane. So duality. Black and white, good and evil, yes and no, up and down, want and don't want. These are all examples of dualistic thinking. What if you banned these labels from your thoughts for a day? What would happen? Would the world end? Doubtful. Would some person get away with something? No. Would you attach less emotion to a bad situation or drama? Possibly. If that happened and there was less attachment to a situation, you could keep your vibrations higher, which would enable you to deal more successfully with any situation that comes your way. Given enough time, most bad situations work out in the end. It is your choice to be drama-free or spend a lot of time and energy wasted on a situation that will turn out okay in the end. What do you choose? What do you choose? To be drama-free, of course. But I think that's the thing with bad situations or negative things. You hindsight is 2020, but you really don't know how the thing is going to turn out until the end. So in the middle of it, it can look like a really bleak, terrible situation. But that's why I like I don't know if it's a verse in the Bible, but it's like a mantra that I use, just that everything is always working out for me. Like everything is always working out for me. And it's hard in the moment if you are going through a challenge, but if you look back on your life, and maybe you've had a very hard life, and if you have, I'm sorry, and maybe this does not pertain to you, but every obstacle, every situation that you had to go through grew you in some way. It made you more equipped. It made you more responsible. It gave you more tools, more knowledge, more wisdom to do whatever you needed to do to handle whatever business you needed to handle. And sometimes you have to go through things a hard way. Sometimes you literally have to be tried by the freaking fire to come out and realize, oh, I'm okay. I can handle that. I can do hard things. I can handle a tough situation, a hard conversation. I can do that. But it's not until you put yourself in the position, or maybe God puts you in that position to have to overcome something, to have to deal with something. So back to the duality. It's like black and white thinking. And so this card is interesting for intuition because it's not black and white. It's very, very nuanced. And I think the two parts of that is, okay, it's either intuitive or it's intuitive or logical. But I think us being complex creatures, we use both, obviously, on a day-to-day. I think depending on who you are, if you lean more toward, math and science and very concrete explanations of things, and you probably use more logic than your intuition. If, like me, you are more spiritually inclined and feeling based, you probably use more of your intuition. I listen to my feelings. I like to go with the flow. I like to feel out the vibes, feel out the energy, see what's what. Logic is last, and maybe it shouldn't be last, but it's not black and white. I think we use both. We use both, and that's if you are in tune and in connection with your spirit. Essentially, I think that's the house of your intuition. I could have that wrong, but I think it is your spirit. I don't think it's in your mind, because it's like, it's a feeling thing. It's like a sixth sense. Like they say, women's intuition, men have it too. And some men have stronger intuition than women, but it just depends. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say a muscle, but it's kind of something that you do have to watch and feed and pay attention to and be aware of to know how it speaks, and to know if this is your intuition or not. So Grace writes a lovely post about how we have to just let go of the black and white. It's a gray area some of the times. And so she talks about some things that she's had to go through, and how she's had to drop that thinking, that way of thinking, that mental process of this or that thinking. So please go check that out at touchedbygrace.blog on Medium. The link will be in the description below. And it was just a great reminder, because I'm very much this and that. Like, I don't think I've ever been an either or. I feel like I contradict myself on a daily basis, because I'm able to just see every single part of the situation. This can be true and that can be true. I feel like a lot of people are very much like, pick one, this or that, this or that. No. We live in a world of inclusivity, not exclusivity. But going to the intuition, so we talked about it. It's your gut feeling. It's like this inner knowing that you don't know how you know. You don't know why you know, but you just know. You be knowing. You know what you know. Can't prove it. I can't tell you who told me. It was a little birdie. And 99% of the time I'm right. Now, the thing that will get you in trouble is if you either have like a, not weak intuition, but I think, first of all, how do you know if it's your intuition? You know if it's your intuition, if your intuition is telling you something, if it's not coming from a person. So if someone didn't tell it to you, if you didn't get it from social media, if you didn't get it from the television, if you didn't get it from, a coworker or a mentor, if you didn't get it from a friend, a family member, if no one told you any sort of information, you didn't get it from a book, you didn't get it from a podcast, you didn't get it from anything, something is more like a download. For me, it comes as thoughts, and also let's say images. Thoughts and images, and no one has mentioned anything about this, but I'll just get a thought, or I'll get an image, a flash of something in my mind, and sometimes I have to make sense of it. It's like a puzzle. I don't know what this means, but sometimes it's very clear. And so if something comes to you, I like to use the word download, because that's what it feels like. It's like you just downloaded something in your spirit. You downloaded something in your mind, like it just came to you. Then more than likely that's your intuition. And it can be a warning of sorts. It can be just information that you need to know in your back pocket. It can be vibes that you might need to suss out. Like, for example, one of the things that I've gotten intuitively, so I walk my dog at this park, and it's a preserve, so there's some regular, wildlife and things like that. And I think I've seen a snake there maybe once or twice, but I haven't seen one in a while. And this is a few months ago, and I hadn't seen a snake in a while. And I was just walking her regularly. There was nothing that made me think that, the snakes were out today. But as soon as I stepped foot on the path to walk her, I got an image of a snake in a particular area of the park. And I was like, That's interesting. That's interesting. And I was like, okay, I'll just keep that, in the back of my mind, and went on about my walk and put on a podcast or something. And so we get to this area of the park. And of course, I'm like on alert because I was essentially like warned or, shown something that a snake could possibly be in that path. And I'm thinking, like, what are the odds that I would actually see a snake right now? And sure enough, I saw a snake. And it was like, it wasn't surprising because, again, I had expected it because I got this random image that I was going to see a snake. So it wasn't super surprising, but I was just like, oh, wow. Like, intuitively, I knew that that was going to happen. And then other things like thoughts, for example. So sometimes it's more subtle too. Like I said, it's like a puzzle piece that you kind of have to figure out. So for the past few weeks, I've been seeing the number 818. And I'm thinking that's interesting because usually if you're seeing things to deal with numerology, they're repeating numbers 444, 111, 222, things of that nature. But 818, I kept seeing it. I kept seeing it in phone numbers. I kept seeing it on the time, on clocks. I kept seeing it in license plates, on billboards, on receipts. I just kept seeing it everywhere. 818, 818, 818. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? And I didn't ask for a long time because I'm just thinking, oh, that's just a random number. And it's not random. And then one day after I was doing a meditation, and I didn't ask the question, but I think it was just in my brain of, okay, what does this number mean? And I heard Romans 8:18. And I was like, that's weird because I don't read the Bible like that. But I was like, okay, I'll look it up. And so I looked up that Bible verse, and it spoke to me. It felt like it was something that I needed to hear in that moment. And I wouldn't have normally just woken up and turned to that passage to read. So to me, I felt like that was an intuitive message to read, to look at. And I wouldn't have gotten that if I wasn't paying attention, if I wasn't tuned in to the number 818, if I wasn't tuned in my meditation to hear the Romans 8:18. Sometimes it comes in puzzle pieces and there's more to it. And then sometimes a dream is very intuitive, and that's all you need. I'm one of those people because my dreams are very not intuitive, but they're predicting. So I'll have a dream about something and then it'll happen. And sometimes it's to a T, sometimes it's not. But I'm the type of person, if I have a dream about you, and in my dream you are doing something sneaky, you are doing something like that's giving, I need to cut you off as a friend, as a partner, as a whatever, that's all I need. I don't have to have the proof. I don't have to have the receipts. The receipts are the dream. The receipts is the intuition, is the proof. So it also works in that way, because sometimes if you're not a person that's tapped in like that into your subconscious, into your intuition, then your intuition will try to get your attention through your dreams because it can't reach you in your waking life because you're either too on autopilot or, you're too consciously aware of what you're doing. And so the intuition comes from the realm of the subconscious, the unseen realm, the more spiritual side of life. And so if you aren't tapped into that area, maybe you don't pray, or maybe you don't meditate, maybe you don't sit in nature, there's like, you're not open spiritually. So then it has to come through your dreams. So sometimes that's also a way that your intuition can kind of wake you up and shake you up and say, hey, look over here. Or sometimes you just get an intuitive feeling about a place. Like sometimes you walk into a room and it's bad vibes and it's bad energy, and maybe it's the people, maybe it's the circumstance, maybe something's about to happen that hasn't happened yet, but it's like you listen to that. And then you can also test yourself. Okay, get an intuitive hunch about something or someone and don't listen to it and see what it does. Because I've definitely done that with people. I've definitely done that, not in situations. If there's a situation, I'm out. But with people, I'm like, oh, let me just see. I get a little intuitive warning in a dream, and I'm like, they haven't done that yet. This logically doesn't make any sense. I'm just gonna, play it out, write it out, and sure enough, it comes true. So that's a little bit about intuition. I think when you are getting back to yourself, when you are reconnecting the parts of yourself, it's necessary to know because everyone's intuition is different. So sometimes connecting back to your intuition is helpful because it lets you know what really matters to you in your life. What really matters? What are you really passionate about? What do you really care about? Because I think, especially growing up and being in a world where everything is so accessible and it feels like we can have and do and whatever we want, and we can on a certain level, but I think everything is not for everybody. And I think if you're not tuned in and tapped into your own intuitive spirit, your own intuitive soul, then you will be out here chasing things that other people have, that other people want, because you don't know what it is that you truly desire. You don't know what it is that truly makes you happy, that lights you up, that makes you passionate. Money aside, followers aside, subscribers aside, is like when you really tune into your spirit, your intuition, then it's kind of like you have the key, not the answers, but you have the key to getting the answers, and then the next step is listening to it. So meditation strengthens your intuition, but also just being in stillness and kind of being in nature, also definitely just somewhere where you can get quiet, because your intuition is not loud. Your logic, your thinking mind is loud. Your logic and your thinking mind is giving you thoughts and ideas and scenarios day to day, throughout the day, multiple times a day. We have thousands of thoughts per day. But your intuition is still. Your intuition is quiet, and if you don't listen to it, your intuition is silent. So to strengthen it, and also you can test it on small things. Like if you haven't heard from someone in a while and you get a feeling that they're going to call you today, don't ignore that. Like, pay attention to that. And then if they call you today, oh, I was right. I intuitively knew that they were going to call me today. Little stuff like that. But you can also do it with bigger things. But I think the key is finding ways to connect with yourself, to strengthen your own intuition is going to help it grow. So that is all I have, and until next time.